Okay, recording started. So the agenda today is to give you all a little bit of context on the funding itself, um, run through some of the basic eligibility and project scoping guidance, preview what the application process looks like, as well as what the evaluation process entails, and then some time for Q&A, including responses to questions I've already received, and some time for anybody's remaining questions. Some of you will see that I am already reusing and recycling slides from other presentations. So this is just a little bit of high-level context about where clean wood waste goes in our region. The high-level summary here is that of 355,000 tons of clean wood that enters waste streams annually in King County, less than 1% goes to salvage. The vast majority, two-thirds, goes to hog fuel and one-third to landfill. So there is a whole lot of, we'll call that market opportunity maybe, but a whole lot of wood that is not salvaged, that hopefully we could reduce the amount of end-of-life wood entering the market by diverting it into salvage and reuse streams. So that is some of the high level context. King County, as well as a lot of other private and public entities in the region, have worked on this challenge for a number of years. The funding we have is through EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and runs through the end of 2028 and includes a few different uh, programmatic focus areas, including this funding opportunity available to basically anybody with tax status to apply to. We'll get into that a little bit more as we go through. The funding goals, this is most of what you're going to see is in the RFA that was released on Monday. And if anybody doesn't have that, definitely drop a message and we will make sure that you get that information. The funding goals, as laid out in the RFA, are to reduce the volume of wood entering county waste streams from construction and demolition waste, activate supply and demand side market growth through contract awards to startup and existing businesses, support standardization and commercialization of salvaged lumber wood products in an effort to grow regional markets for wood with a circular life cycle, and support market actors to overcome barriers to growth, particularly in material storage, production capacity, deconstruction services, and market awareness. So that is intended to be pretty broad and to put a resource into the community that can be targeted towards a number of different niche barriers and supply chain challenges that folks working in this space or seeking to work in this space may face. This is just a little bit of a high-level view of the funding that I mentioned from EPA focused on salvaged lumber systems. The stated goal when the county's grant to EPA was written was to establish a program that seeks to capture and reuse a majority of the roughly 100,000 tons a year of unpainted, untreated wood in building demolition to avoid as much as 290,000 metric tons of CO2 equivalent and GHG greenhouse gas emissions every year. There are sort of four main program areas. I'm not going to go into detail on all of them, but just to show you where this funding sits in relation to all of the others. There are environmental product uh, uh, sorry, let me start on the left and work right rather than the other way around. There are engineered salvage product testing scopes that will be executed through a subaward with a research university in the Pacific Northwest. There are workforce development funds focused around increasing capacity and skills in deconstruction in our region. There are these grants. We're calling it a funding opportunity because it'll be executed through contracts rather than grants, but we can get into the minutia there later on. That is $1.45 million available through this RFA, which is open through June 12th. We'll give you a more step-by-step walkthrough of the different process steps and timeline in a moment here. And then there's another currently open RFP for EPD, that's Environmental Product Declaration Development for salvage lumber products. Here is the sort of simplified process map for application and review. The application's opened on 5/1. Information sessions are today and on 5/20 in a couple weeks. Applications close on June 12th at 3 p.m. After applications close, that opens the panel review process, which begins the 13th of June through the middle of July. We expect to make notifications to all applicants, awarded and not awarded, in mid to late July. And then the selected projects would then move into contracting. Just checking on the chat to make sure. Yep, looks like I'm up to speed. So let me go back over to, wait a minute, my screen. Okay. So eligibility, the intention is to be as accessible to different organization types as possible. So all, my typo here, all nonprofits, for-profits, public agencies, and community groups with fiscal sponsors are eligible to apply. All applicants must be licensed and registered with Washington State Department of Revenue and provide a UBI number. If that is either confusing or a stumbling block for you during applications, send an email and we can help you sort that out if needed. But it does reflect that we need a taxable entity in order to make an award. Applicants with fiscal sponsors will be required to have signed fiscal agent agreements with a taxable entity that will receive the funds, or demonstrate a mutual plan to sign such an agreement upon receiving funds. And then geographic scoping. The projects must be substantially focused in King County. We understand that wood supply chains are complex, and we invite anyone to make a compelling case about how your project achieves the desired outcomes and impacts within King County. I think I get into that more in the later slides, but just in case, one more comment on that is that entities that are fundamentally located outside of King County are eligible to apply. It's just a matter of making the case of how your activity includes benefits, and the substantial portion of benefits take place within King County, just because that's the way the funding is scoped. We can field questions on that if anybody has those towards the end here. So there are two tracks within the funding opportunity. Track 1 is for equipment purchases. There's a total of $100,000 available under Track 1. Awards are limited to $10,000 apiece. Those applications must be for acquisition, improvements, or repair of a single piece of equipment, inclusive of all installation and delivery costs. No other cost types are allowed. This track is really just about getting the equipment or upgrading the equipment. If additional costs are needed, applicants should apply under program supports, which can include equipment purchases. The goal here is to provide a path for streamlined contracting to facilitate quicker implementation for smaller asks and simpler operations when just purchasing equipment. I'll reiterate this later, and it's not on this slide, but it is not as simple as just win the award, get a check. However, these are contracts, and they'll have performance periods with deliverables and reporting as well. That'll all get structured into the contract. Track two is what we're calling program supports. There's 1.35 million total funding available under this track. The emphasis here is on program and project development or expansion. The balance of expenses should be programmatic, but these can include funding equipment, including equipment over $10,000, which is the limitation for track one. It's just the rationale there is that if we're funding larger equipment purchases, we want to understand and be a part of the programmatic context that that equipment is supporting. We anticipate making 10 to 15 subawards, averaging $100,000, but that is in relative ignorance of what you all might be needing and scoping. So we encourage you to apply with proposals above and below the $100,000 range. It's not prescriptive that they must hover around 100,000. That's just kind of what we're imagining. So that's it on the two tracks at this point. Oh, the room I'm in has gone dark. Let me go move around so that I get some light on my face one moment here. That was funny. Here we are. Okay. In the RFA, there are also a number of strategy areas identified, and all applicants are required to identify which of these strategy areas their projects fit within. You aren't limited to just one, and if you'll notice, strategy area 7 can be applicant determined. These are mostly just a reflection of what we've seen as potential sticking points and barriers to overcome in the market. But just so that you know how the county has conceptualized this funding to begin with, these are here. They're also in the RFA for you to review in more detail. I think that's all I'll say on that. If anybody wants to come back and ask specific questions, we can do those later. So, how to apply? All entities with compelling projects in the circular lumber economy are encouraged to apply. These are all linked in these slides. The slides will be uploaded to the same place that the RFA is uploaded. So some of these links here are a little bit duplicative. If anybody needs these links, I can copy them and put them in the chat. I don't know if you're actually able to click on them as participants in the webinar here. But there's a request for applications, a couple different places on the King County website. There's another information session, another typo here. I'm sorry, this says May 2, but it's May 20th. Ooh, let me go back. So there's a second information session, May 20th at the same time, 2 to 3:30 p.m. Hopefully I'll have worked out some of the kinks I'm experiencing this time before that. And you can apply now through the King County Solid Waste Division application portal. In order to do that, you click that link or the link that's embedded in the documents on King County's website. Create a new or log in with an existing user, navigate to see opportunities, select circular lumber funding. You'll see a number of different opportunities. Those are other opportunities which maybe you're interested in that are currently open through King County Solid Waste Division. Then once you're in the circular lumber funding opportunity, you'll fill out all the forms and submit when complete. Progress can be saved within that system. I know in some grant systems, you have to essentially either make your own parallel or download a copy, work on it, and then upload. That is not the case here, so hopefully that's a little bit friendlier to applicants. And we can provide translation services upon request. For application evaluations, those will be done through a panel review. A panel of county staff and external partners will review all of the applications. Each application will receive a minimum of 3 independent reviewers. All reviewers sign an NDA and conflict of interest agreement prior to reviewing, and will be removed from reviewing any applications with which they may have a conflict of interest. That's just to ensure that we have an unbiased and fair process for all proposals. The scoring criteria, which is not currently on the RFA, but we are working on an update to that will get uploaded shortly to the county's website. So stay tuned on that, but at least it's here now. It's also, if anybody has made it through into the application portal, this is already integrated there. So reviewers will score applications out of a total 100 possible points in the following categories. Specific questions are available in the application portal. Initiative overview, 14 or 15 points. Project descriptions in either track 1 or 2, 35 points. Environmental and climate impact, 15 points. Equitable impact, 10 points. Economic impact, 10 points. Budget and funding, 15 points. And I'm pretty sure the math actually works. So there are a number of questions and answers. The questions I've already received and answers I've provided. This is a summary of those. I guess I'll just read through them really quickly. So I've received a number of program strategic questions. So just to clarify what I can and can't provide as King County staff, we can help identify what's in scope, but we can't really provide feedback or thought partnership on project plans or details. It just risks either advantaging or, if I give you bad advice, disadvantaging you in your application process. No harm in asking. I'm just going to tell you I can't give you feedback in that way. There were some eligibility clarifications. I think I said this earlier, but applications need not be located within King County, but must demonstrate how their projects take place or provide benefit to King County in line with the funding goals. Received a question about startup and relocation cost. Those are both eligible for funding. You just want to make the case for, why and how is it going to support circular economy for salvage lumber within King County. What about projects that focus on wood from non-construction sources? While King County supports all efforts toward establishing a circular economy, the funding emphasizes developing circular markets for wood from construction and demolition. Just can't do everything with this particular grant, and construction demolition waste are the emphasis of the funding we have from EPA. A question about the funding structure. So awards will be made, I think I said this earlier, through contracts with successful applicants and or their fiscal sponsors. A few more questions. How are equipment costs paid? Equipment costs will be awarded through those contracts, which include terms and conditions for purchase, performance, and reporting through the end of the contract. We're anticipating the contracts will end at the end of 2028, or will extend through the end of 2028. Does King County make advance payments? We are able to make advance payments, especially in the case of equipment costs. That might be relevant since those can be fairly hefty checks to write. There are certain requirements. So the contractor, that would be anybody receiving one of these awards, would provide proof of payment and verify delivery or acceptance of equipment within 5 business days at the end of the calendar month. We can make advance payments based on quotes in hand from suppliers. And can King County departments apply to one or both tracks? Short answer, yes. A few more notes from me before I open up to questions from y'all. I mentioned that there were a few updates we were going to make. Just going to give you a summary of those here. So, in the case that an entity is applying with a fiscal sponsor or a fiscal agent, we have added draft terms and conditions with language specific to fiscal sponsorship applications. Those wouldn't be applicable to all, but they're in the draft terms and conditions now. We've added more detail about the insurance requirements. Applicants should review and provide the language to their broker or insurance provider to make sure that you have adequate coverages. And one clarification, professional liability is not required. I mentioned the update on scoring criteria. We need to add that to the RFA. It's already in the application template online. And these changes should be made probably by the end of this week, certainly at the beginning of next. It's just a matter of processing time to get from me to comms to the website. And then just one small clarification on track 1 and 2. The RFA lists them in reverse order from the application site. So I've got them correct here. Track 1 is equipment purchases. Track 2 is program supports. I need to change that in the RFA just to avoid any confusion. But every time either track 1 or track 2 shows up, it's with the program name and descriptor. So I don't think anybody's getting crossed up with that, but just in case, we'll align those. Funding acknowledgement that this is funded by Environmental Protection Agency under our grant agreement, and under the climate pollution reduction grant that King County received from EPA. And that's it. I will stop sharing my screen. We can pull that back up if we need. Let me just go to where I can see the chat again. And okay, some things happened in the chat. Feel free to raise your hand and I can manually unmute you, or to add questions to the chat for anything you'd like to cover. I see Dirk's question. I'll just start from the chat here. Oh, here, as long as people are raising hands, I will go to the hands first and then we'll work down the questions in the chat. So Valerie, go ahead.
Hi, am I actually unmuted?
I think I can hear you. Can anybody else put in the chat if you can't hear Valerie?
So a couple of practical questions around contracting and funding and all that sort of stuff. I'll just try and cover them all in one go, and if you forget a couple. So in the online applications, is it like a single user login, or can different members of the project add to building out that proposal before submitting it? Another question would be, especially for the programming, staffing costs and overhead, are those allowable? Is this based on a reimbursement structure? And if so, what's the typical turnaround and process for submitting invoices and getting payment? And then the last question that I wrote down was, is there any sort of requirement or even benefit to having matching resources dedicated to that application?
Okay, good questions. Andrew, I'm going to take you off. I think actually I can just allow anybody, well, Andrew, I'm taking you off mute because you'll probably be able to help me answer some of these. For the first question about the application portal, I believe that once you log in, you can add users to the same account or share the application to another user from another entity. I will double check that with the folks with King County Solid Waste who've run. This is my first time using this software. I'm pretty sure that that's the case, and I will double check that and circle back if what I'm telling you is not the case. Um, I will also, we're going to upload all of the questions and answers that I shared with you all before, as well as anything that comes from this meeting into a document on the website where the RFA is. So I will include instructions on that um, to make sure that you all know how to do it. On your second question, reimbursements and payments, Andrew, feel free to correct me here. I think our expectation is that these are primarily reimbursement based, with the caveat that there are ways to do advance payments. I don't know if that, Andrew, is that ever a routine way to go through an entire award, or is that kind of a one-off situation?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep, gotcha.
Yeah. Let's see. I heard question number two about staffing and overhead in the budget. And my understanding would be this would only be applicable to track two. And yes, additional costs are possible, such as staffing and overhead. And we're using a contract format, so that would be eligible expenses. Question three was on frequency and how fast we're able to pay. We would expect monthly billing, and King County policy is that we pay within 30 days. And I heard the last question on whether any proposed match from an applicant would have a benefit, and at this point, there's no matching element in the RFA.
Yeah, I would just add to that last question that we're not evaluating based on match. Um, Perhaps there's a story or the larger context you would want to tell that would contextualize match and help us see the big picture that you're working toward, but that's not a requirement. Andrew, thanks for picking up that other question on staffing and overhead. I had gotten the order wrong there. Valerie, are you satisfied with those answers? Or maybe not satisfied. Did you get
Yep.
answers?
Nope. Those were great. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Um, I don't see any other hands, so I'm gonna, oh wait, there's another hand. Whose hand is it? Great. Will, go ahead. And you know what? I'm actually, Will, before you go, I'm realizing I can just give a carte blanche allowed to talk to everyone. So I'm going to take you all off of my like banned list here. But if you would please remain on mute until you are actually raising your hand. So I'm going to take you all off, but Will, go ahead while I do that.
Hi, thank you. You hear me okay?
Yep.
Good. So is deconstruction training included in this?
Yeah. What I'd say is it sounds like it's within scope as long as all of the other eligibility requirements are met.
Yes, okay. And then is this strictly covering lumber, or is this also cover doors, windows, fixtures, other things that come through deconstruction?
Yeah, that's a good question. I struggled with the name. Wood from construction and demolition activities. So that would include uh, windows, doors, other elements that contain wood but aren't necessarily lumber themselves.
Okay.
Good
And then
clarification.
our project is mostly focused on then getting these things back into the community at equitable price. So does an element of this cover essentially the facility or store or whatever is required to get these back to the community?
Yeah, I think the intention is that the funding isn't prescriptive on how you achieve the goals of the project. And so that could include combination of capital, staff, and other expenses.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, to the questions that are in the chat. I think the first I see is Dirk's. Should we attend information session 2 if we attend the first one? No requirement. If there are questions that come up in the meantime, you're welcome to, but we're not, yeah, not required. Oh, sorry, Andrew already got to that one. I'm late to the game here. Yeah, just reiterating Andrew's response to Daryl, whether there are additional reporting requirements to EPA. No report just to King County, and then it's King County's job to report to EPA. So if we do our job, you reporting to us will get us what we need in order to report to EPA. Valerie wants me to put the scoring slide back up. Yes, 1 second here. These slides will also get posted kind of on the same timeline as the other things I mentioned. But for now, there you go. Unfortunately, can't see the chat while I'm on this window. So, Valerie, maybe you could just say you've got it once you've got it so I can get back to the chat.
Sorry, are you sharing it so we can look at it, or?
Oh, are you not seeing it? One moment here.
Yeah, you have great lighting, but looking at your face doesn't help remember some of the
Yeah,
key
sorry.
points.
I didn't realize it wasn't already sharing. There you go. Okay, that should be up for you now. Are you seeing it?
Got it. Thank you.
Great, cool. I guess I'll just leave that up. Doesn't hurt anything. I think I can actually see the chat. Okay, great. Okay, well, I think that gets us through the queue of questions. I'm going to stop the share because I can't see any hands that are up. So, any other questions, go ahead and raise your hand. And otherwise, I will just hang out until folks are have chosen to leave, and then we'll call the meeting finished. Aaron, go ahead.
Hey, Micah. I don't know if people can see me or what. So we've had a few people reach out interested in partnering with the Salvage Lumber Warehouse. I guess I'm curious if we are maybe not the primary people on a grant. If we're involved in someone else's proposal and want to submit our own, is it kind of an either or thing that will kind of help us determine what kind of partnerships are going to be available if we wanted to write our own proposal for this project?
Yeah, good question. Andrew, after I answer this, tell me what I get wrong. I believe that in the RFA, we put that you can't submit 2 applications as the lead. I don't know that we clarified that you can be a part of multiple applications, but that is, I think I get to make that decision, and I think that seems fine. So, Andrew, what did I get wrong?
Yeah, that is accurate. I think that's what we would expect. Perhaps you might be like a subcontractor on a proposal and you're the applicant on a different proposal. One key thing would be that we're certainly not going to fund kind of the same work via more than one award. So we would have that in mind. The same body of work, not rather than same type of work.
Got it. Thank you.
Valerie, go ahead.
So I've noted at least three questions. The first one that kind of builds off of Aaron's, is there some way on the online application to sort of either submit letters of support from other partners that we're expecting to work with, or possibly like early MOUs that help to flesh out the program narrative or the application narrative? And my next two questions are, can you guys go into a little bit more about how you guys measure or consider both equitable impact and the environmental climate impact? Like how, like, do you have certain reference points or scoring criteria, third party certifications, else like how do we present that to you in a way that is understandable and translatable?
There are, what I would encourage you to do is log into the application, and there are specific questions, and it's just about evaluators, the group of evaluators assessing the quality and depth of the responses to those questions within each of those sections. But there's not a specific, you need this certification and it's worth this number of points. It's more a, approximating the quality of response and applying that weight in the overall application evaluation.
So just following up, given that there's a bunch of time left in the scheduled webinar here, and that it's only been a few days since the RFP went out, is there some way to preview that through a shared screen? Like if you log in and can show us what those questions look like? So
Yeah, I can do that. That will take me just a moment. So I'm going to work in the background to do it. But yeah, I think I can show you those. You had another question before the impact one about, letter of support and references. Yeah, letters of support. Yeah, there's a place to upload references. It may be that we could or should expand that to be either the number of documents or the types of documents. I can't remember off the top of my head how restrictive it is currently, so let me just log in and take a look. Meanwhile, I've got the application portal up. Let me just show you here. Um, Actually, one second. I'm going to show you the version that you would all see. Give me a second. Okay, we're going to try this live. So, sharing my screen here, you get to see my shameful number of tabs, and this is just one window. Well, we're going to have to accept that I'm scatterbrained. So this is what applicants will see. We're in a preview mode here. So there's some introductory information. There's applicant information. There's an eligibility check. You need to provide some of these things in order for the rest of the proposal of the application to open up. Then there's an initiative overview, a number of questions there. Then you have to select which funding track. You can't select both. And depending on which you select, you'll get the track 2 program supports or the track 1 equipment purchases open up. Those are different once you're in this section, but outside of that section, the environmental impact, the sections that you were asking about, Valerie, are identical between them. So I'm going to open those and give you a preview. So there are a number of questions. Some of them are more just contextual informational, and some of them are actually assigned point values. So, which are called out in the question titles themselves. So I guess I'll just hover here and wait for you to tell me to move on so you can take a moment to read them. Or if you need me to, I know I'm kind of scrolling around a lot and that can be hard to follow. So let me know if you want me to go up or down or anything like that.
Okay, so it looks like these estimates are through the end of the grant period at the end of 2028.
Correct.
Okay. Uh, and can we select a shorter end date?
Yep, potentially. I'd say dealer's choice on that. There's no reason that you must continue activities beyond a certain time.
I also don't want to hog all the questions. I think it's instructive. Hopefully, it's instructive for other people to see what the application actually looks like, given that this is the first webinar.
Yeah, as long as I think everybody has the ability to come off mute on your own now, so you can just jump in and throw your own questions in. Will, I'm seeing in the chat, you asked, does one have to apply for either track one or track two? Yes, it's an either or. That's related to, I think it was Aaron's question. You can be a lead applicant on just one application. You could be named and serve as something like a subcontract to multiple applications, but not lead on more than one. But consider that the way it's structured is that track one is limited to $10,000 in equipment purchases, but track two can include, I don't know why this room goes dark every, 20 minutes. I'll be right back. I got a movie game.
I don't know that we're looking at yet, Micah.
Oh, you're not? Okay, great. Well, I couldn't see anything anyways. I'm on like an auto timer here. But track two can include equipment purchases up to and beyond $10,000. So, Will, if you were hoping to get both equipment and program costs, just apply in track two.
Great, thanks.
I'm just scrolling down, Valerie, to give you and others the preview of the other questions. And just as a reminder, I mean, you could write these down or screenshot them now, but you all have access to this and can just set up an account, and this will be visible to you once you check the right boxes.
Micah, this is Jason. Can you hear
Hi,
me?
Jason.
Hi. Can you show us while you're doing this show and tell where we might name a subcontractor? Maybe it's only in the references area, but could you just try to show us?
We didn't structure in a specific place for that. There is, I think the natural place would be, so if you're in here applying under track one, there are a lot of narrative prompts here. And, actually, let me go back because you're unlikely, in fact, you wouldn't have a subcontractor under track one. So let me go back, select track two, which will be more relevant for that. Track two has a number of just more open-ended questions. What's your project? What's the strategy? Why is this the right thing for the market? I think that would be here where would be the most pertinent place to name project partners and describe how the work will will ensue together. But there's not a specific location or question tailored to that.
Thank you. Answer my question.
No problem. Tanner, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Micah. I work for Homestead Community Land Trust, and coming up, we have a couple developments. We're going to be developing multiple townhomes developments, and so there's going to be a lot of scrap lumber, and I'm just wondering if I don't know how much necessarily funding we need to um, have like a dumpster on site and just put a bunch of scrap lumber in a dumpster and then somehow get that to you. But I'm just trying to brainstorm with you if that's something that we might need funding for, or if I could just like work with you maybe to try and set something like that up, if that's possible.
Good question. Um, I gotta think about how to answer that. I think in case there's a in case there's a question of whether the county is actually operating a salvage lumber something, we're not. So I wouldn't know what to do with the dumpster except for to tell you to connect with maybe one of the salvage yards around. Uh, so I'd say definitely send me an email and I can point you in a couple directions on that. Um, I can't, I mean, what you're doing sounds like it would be within scope. I can't tell you whether you need budget for that or whether there's a sort of a more programmatic context that you could develop around that. I'm just not so sure and can't really provide that kind of consultation on this. But at least what you've shared sounds like it would be within scope if you found something you wanted to pitch as a narrative, but also send an email and I can connect you potentially with some options outside of the grant funding.
Okay, thanks.
You bet. Valerie. Oh, Valerie, I think Tanner, I think Valerie posted a response to you that I don't need to get involved
Okay, let
in.
me check the
Yeah,
chat.
I
Thanks.
got a little ahead of myself. I'm like, hey, do you want any reclaimed lumber for that affordable housing development? There are a few of us on this call who can probably help supply that.
Oh, really? Well, we could definitely consider using some.
Yeah.
Um,
If you're comfortable, throw your contact info in the chat, and anybody
oh,
who's
okay.
interested might reach out to you. Mostly
Oh, great.
probably me, Dirk, and Aaron.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Maybe as a unified front.
Cool. Thanks.
We're old friends.
I find it encouraging that this is turning accidentally into a place for network development, which is very good. Um, Richard, go ahead.
This is a fantastic opportunity, and the last 30 seconds started to answer some of my questions. Micah, you've talked about the primary applicant, you've talked about subcontractors, but I'd like to ask if you'd go into some detail about collaborators and also ways to network and find co-collaborators.
Um, Trying to get my head around your question, Richard.
I can rephrase this. So Aaron's going to be a real popular fellow around here. So I want to make sure that he can work together with all of us in various ways and support mechanisms, but also that we can help find each other if we found ways to really help develop our applications in synergy together, or maybe even start to merge projects together if that case were to be.
I see. Let me, I have to be a little circumspect here because I'm sort of new to working for government and don't want to get on the wrong side of anything. But one, I can't control what anybody puts in the chat. And two, Andrew, I'm kind of wondering if you can give me a little guidance on whether I can facilitate sort of network connections, knowing that they're maybe related to this grant or this funding opportunity. It's a part of my day-to-day job, but is it potentially influencing the process if I do it in service of proposal development?
Yeah, I think there's no problem with sharing an attendee list and contact info, just as that would be like a plan holders list for any formal contract solicitation. Um, my opinion, I guess, for co-collaborators, I think that's absolutely encouraged and a point of what we're trying to support. Um, I think if one entity applies on its own through track two and then is referenced in additional applications as a co-collaborator, um, that's not problematic. We would just look at what the budget requests are and make sure that we're not funding the same thing more than once. Um, so the fact that one entity has resources connected across this network that other folks might utilize also wouldn't wouldn't count against them for an application that they put forth as the lead.
Thanks, Andrew. Richard, have we given you a sufficient response?
Yep, I think that was perfect. And I mentioned Andrew, but I think I was pointing at Aaron, and so that was helpful for both of you. Thank you so very much.
I just dropped my contact info into the chat so that Micah doesn't have to worry about whether or not to share it. We can also all screen grab that, and I think there's a way to capture the chat through Zoom for later use.
What I can offer also is I've got registration and attendee list for this. Short of posting that on the county's website, what I can do is just send an email to everyone who attended this and share that list, unless anybody would prefer that I not, in which case I can take you off of that.
Perfect. Do it.
Yeah, works for me.
I'm open. The last chat I see was at 2:34, and so I didn't see Valerie's post. So I think that would be helpful, Micah.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure why you'd only be seeing from 234, Richard. There have been a few since then, but yes, I will follow up after this and share the contact list around.
Yeah, some of the chat information has only been shared with the host and panelists as opposed to everyone, and that's probably why not.
Yeah, all I
Understood.
can see is the last one saying, "Hey, Daryl, contractors will report only to King County." If I can throw my email in there, I'm happy to chat. We're launching the salvage lumber warehouse, so bandwidth is a little bit limited. So my only request is just come to us with ideas, not just picking our brains for. We'd be happy to receive ideas. We don't have as many to give. Thanks.
Um, Thank you. Oh, great. Good. Tanner is posting now to everyone. I didn't realize that folks were posting just something that I could see. So Valerie, when you posted your contact information, it went just, I think, to me or to host and panelists. So you might want to go down to the chat and select everyone there. There you go. You got it. Okay. Anything else? We kind of got sidetracked in good ways while I was rolling through the sort of other scoring criteria sections. So I could still show you those if that's of interest, Valerie.
I think some of the more like complicated or field restricted sections would be really helpful to see. Like I saw there was a section that hadn't been opened up yet around budget, uh, as you're going up and down,
Hmm.
like less narrative and more like what are the fields we need to figure out ahead of time. I think there was also like project goals with timelines.
Yeah, so that's all in this. Here we are on track two.
So these
Project
are like
details.
narrative. And
Yeah,
then as you were scrolling down, I saw like more like almost like tabular, like
right.
oh, there we go.
So
Project milestone
this
timeline.
is the format we've requested a budget in, kind of. Oh yeah, sorry, these are milestones and timelines, and then later on we've got where's the budget? Budget and funding, which is also more tabular.
It's definitely very helpful to just even see the categories that you have preloaded. And
Okay.
I'm assuming there might be an other kind of towards the bottom of the screen. No, no, in the, sorry.
You mean in the budget?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Oh yeah.
there's
So
other discussion.
it does have an other. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. That helps.
No problem. So keep the questions flowing. I'll hang out here until y'all want to call it a day. And I'm just going to continue the recording because you never know what of substance may occur. I don't want to miss that.
So you kind of reviewed having ideally a Washington business license, et cetera, et cetera. As a contractor through King County, is there also another layer of having to be an approved vendor within King County's system, which is pretty common with government entities? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, good question. And I think when we structured this, we were not imagining applicants outside of Washington, though that's certainly allowed. So for one part of that, let me ask Andrew, does it need a Washington business license? I suspect that it just needs you need to be a registered business with a taxable entity in order for us to grant. So that might loosen things up in that respect. Andrew, do you have input on that piece of the question?
Yes. Yeah, you have to be a business licensed in Washington State,
Hmm.
registered with Washington State. As far as going through King County supplier setup, we'll take care of that. Awardees will be asked to submit a King County substitute W-9. That form we use to set up your supplier record. And we don't require you to register in the e-procurement portal. We just take care of the supplier setup.
Thank you so very much, by the way, for not making us jump through extra hoops to register as vendors or suppliers.
Yeah, yep. We'll take care of that with just
No.
a King County W-9 form.
Love it. Thank you.
I'm just in the background going to keep opening up these additional sections that folks maybe have not laid eyes on yet. But as a reminder, you can look at them here, but you have access to these anytime you want them after you've logged into the portal. Valerie, I think that as I'm looking at this myself, you had asked about project completion timelines and This is I think the only place where we ask any question about projecting impact beyond the funding period. And it's a pretty low point value, but we are interested in knowing at least an estimation of what the sort of long-term impact on jobs and local economy might be if the project that is funded is successful. So there is sort of one exception to the questions we're asking here fitting within the funding timeline. Thanks, Daryl. So long.
I'll just keep asking questions.
Get after it. That's great.
Well, we've got 20 minutes left. So, I mean, you gave a nod towards like how complex supply, the entire like circular supply ecosystem is in terms of trying to stay constrained to King County. So I'm just ground truthing an assumption. If there are markets outside of King County for King County sourced lumber, that I would imagine, like you're focused on trying to get material out of King County's waste stream. So I guess it's kind of a two-part question. If we are able to create sort of regional markets between like sort of the I-5 Portland to Seattle corridor, material ideally would be coming out of King County into other regions, but then also some backflow of material to stopgap and create sort of more consistency along those regional relationships. And I know you can't quite answer like how you guys would prioritize that, but I'm assuming that like priority would be on focused creating early markets for King County sourced wood waste. Am I reading the tea leaves?
I would say generally yes. It's fair, I think, to separate because there are multiple goals, right? One, yeah, is to reduce wood waste within King County. Another is to develop market circularity within King County. You don't necessarily need to do both of those things with one action. Those are just programmatic goals. So if on the one hand you're creating markets, checking that box, and on the other hand you're creating circularity with wood flowing into the county, that looks like it's within scope. And yeah, I think it's more of we want to be able to see that there's substantial benefit in line with program goals that occurs within King County. And beyond that, we have kind of intentionally been not too prescriptive because what we need is market innovation. And so it's not like there's a set of secret criteria that I have for evaluators who are going to say, yeah, but really we're looking at this. It's more what do we see on each application's own merits? How does that appear to align with the program goals? Is that helpful?
Yeah, for sure. Sorry to flex the Portland situation, but we have a little more of a robust supply at least because we've had deconstruction in place for so long and other slightly different policies in our solid waste management, et cetera. So if we can spearhead opening up some markets in Seattle that then can flow Seattle area King County material into, it's a slightly different order of operations, but you gotta start somewhere. And we also have a jump off point in Seattle. So
Yeah, Valerie, if I can chime in, this is Will here. I'm part of a Washington State reuses working group, which is, I believe, state funded, but it is essentially developing an online exchange network for it, and salvage will definitely be part of that. And it's some, I could see this dovetailing with that as that comes online. I believe the prototype will start showing up online in late June or July.
Awesome. Throw your contact into the chat.
Sure, just a second.